Just days ago, we clocked Giannis quietly wiping almost all Bucks-related posts from his Instagram, and that wasn't random at all. It lined up perfectly with a pattern we've seen before, because this is now the third time Milwaukee has pushed all their chips to the middle of the table.
You know, there are people who see a door and they want to hurry up and escape through that door. He said, but I see a wall and I want to run through the wall and make things work.
I know it's unfortunate for him because the energy don't lie. So the uncertainty and everything lingering with the Milwaukee Bucks for his future, it's unfortunate. You got to clear that energy and bring some good energy back so his situation clears up.
What's more important for Giannis, loyalty or legacy at this point in his career?
Every single time Giannis hinted at uncertainty, the Bucks panicked and went all in, and I told you back then there was no fourth move left. No assets, no cap space, no safety net, and after pushing the button one more time, they're still sitting near the bottom of the East. And since then, things have spiraled fast. Shams Charania just confirmed that Giannis and his agent are now in official conversations with the Bucks about his future, and the language being used sounds way too familiar. It's the same careful wording we heard over the summer, all about whether his best fit is staying put or looking elsewhere. A decision is expected in the coming weeks, but here's where the timing gets wild. Just hours after that report dropped, Giannis went down on the court with a calf strain barely 3 minutes into the game, and now he's sidelined until after December 5th. And wouldn't you know it, that date just happens to line up perfectly with when players signed this offseason officially become trade eligible. At this point, it feels like the universe is pushing the storyline forward itself. And oh yeah, it doesn't stop there. There's now a report floating around that Luka Doncic personally reached out to the Lakers to ask if there was any way they could land Giannis. We're breaking down all of it right here. Let's break down exactly what Shams reported on December 3rd, because every detail matters here. Giannis and his agent have officially begun formal discussions with Bucks ownership and the front office.
I can tell you this for a fact, a few months ago, Giannis wanted to be traded. His first choice, New York with the Knicks. Knicks wouldn't move off, would not offer more than just Karl Anthony Towns. And it just wasn't going to work with the Milwaukee Bucks if they're going to give up Giannis Antetokounmpo. I can tell you that the Lakers inquired, and Luka Doncic himself inquired, trying to see if the Lakers could work out a deal with the Milwaukee Bucks.
This isn't rumor talk anymore. This isn't speculation. This is the superstar and his representation sitting down face to face to decide whether staying makes sense or if it's time to move on, according to Shams. Before the season even tipped off, Giannis told people around him that he'd give the team roughly the first 25 games to show real signs of contention before making any long-term decisions, and honestly, that's fair. Back then, the East looked wide open. Tyrese Halliburton went down with a torn Achilles. Jason Tatum suffered his Achilles injury. Boston completely blew up their roster. They moved Drew Holiday for Anthony Simons. They sent Kristaps Porzingis to Atlanta. Nobody expected the Celtics to still be a top 3 team in the East after that chaos. Meanwhile, the Bucks are sitting at 10-13, losing 8 of their last 10 games, and parked in 10th place. One source told ESPN, the writing is on the wall unless something drastic changes. Doc Rivers insists Giannis has never formally asked for a trade, but here's what Doc didn't address. You don't need to officially request anything when your agent is already meeting with ownership about your future. That is the conversation. The paperwork is just the last domino, and Brian Windhorst took it even further on ESPN Radio.
If I'm Milwaukee, I demand him. I wouldn't do the trade without him. It's a tough one, but that's who they would ask for, because you're not going to get Luka, so you got to get the next best guy, and that's Austin.
Saying a trade request may have already happened, pointing to Giannis being open to the Knicks and those quiet offseason talks between Milwaukee and New York that went nowhere. Now here's where the story takes a turn that feels almost scripted by the basketball gods themselves. On December 3rd, the Shams report drops, and that very same night, the Bucks are on the floor against Detroit. Just 3 minutes into the game, literally 180 seconds, Giannis goes down with a non-contact calf strain. The Ringer straight up called the timing cosmic and tragic, and it's hard to argue with that. Doc Rivers said on Friday that Giannis is expected to miss closer to 4 weeks, not 2. He stressed being extra careful with calf injuries because they can spiral into something much worse. And we all know exactly what worse looks like after watching Damian Lillard, Tyrese Halliburton, and Jason Tatum all suffer Achilles injuries. 4 weeks from December 3rd puts Giannis's return around early January. That's well after December 15th, which just so happens to be the date players sign this offseason officially become trade eligible. According to The Ringer, whether the Bucks choose to hold Giannis out longer than the reported 2 to 4 weeks could tell us everything about how serious Milwaukee is about moving him before the February deadline. Think about that for a second. If Giannis is back in 3 weeks, it's business as usual. If they stretch that timeline, that's Milwaukee protecting a $54 million asset for a potential deal. We're officially in the phase where every single injury update on Giannis is going to get dissected. But here's the real signal that things are escalating. Jake Fisher is now reporting that if Giannis is moved, the Bucks wouldn't just trade him, they'd blow the whole thing up. That means Bobby Portis, Kyle Kuzma, and Miles Turner would all be available. Remember, Turner is the guy they waived and stretched Damian Lillard to sign, all just to chase one more run around the deadline. This wouldn't be a retool. This would be a full teardown, year one of a rebuild. And honestly, it makes sense.
For Milwaukee, even Austin, for as great as he's been up to this point in the season, he is kind of more of a win now player. Whereas I'd want a 22-year-old blue chip young prospect plus multiple picks. And the Lakers just can't currently offer that.
Like I said last time, the Bucks don't own a first-round pick until 2031. They owe picks to New Orleans, swap rights to Portland, and still have obligations tied to Washington from the Middleton deal. On top of that, they're paying $22.5 million in dead money every year for the next 5 years from Lillard's stretched contract. If Giannis leaves, there's no middle lane. You can't sit in NBA purgatory with no picks and no cap space. And without Giannis, competing isn't even on the table. Let's be real, even with Giannis, competing hasn't been working. Jake Fisher also floated the Atlanta Hawks as a dark horse destination. The framework had Atlanta landing Giannis, Turner, and Kuzma in exchange for Trae Young, Zachary Rissacher, Dyson Daniels, Clint Capela, and 3 first-round picks. That's not a tweak, that's a straight-up franchise swap. Now here's something flying under the radar that matters way more than people realize. The Bucks' ownership situation is messy. You've got Wes Edens, who's owned the team since Giannis was a skinny teenager. He approved every major move, dumping Middleton, flipping Drew for Lillard, all of it. There's a real relationship there. Edens probably feels a responsibility to do right by the guy who won him a championship and turned a $550 million franchise into a $4.3 billion powerhouse. But then there's Jimmy Haslam. If that name rings a bell, it should. He owns the Cleveland Browns. He bought a 25% stake in the Bucks in 2023 at a premium price. But thanks to team bylaws, Edens keeps control through 2028. Haslam walked into a roster slowly hollowed out by moves Giannis pushed for. The Drew Holiday trade, approved by Giannis, cost them 5 picks, and Drew went on to win another ring in Boston. The Lillard trade, Giannis wanted it. 3 straight early exits, an Achilles injury, and now massive dead money. Even the Turner signing was done to keep Giannis happy, and now Turner is averaging just 12.4 points on a career low 43.5% shooting. And here's the kicker. Haslam knows exactly what a bloated roster with no future looks like. He owns the Browns, and fixing that mess hasn't exactly gone great. The last thing Milwaukee needs is a Dallas-style disaster, falling asleep on a franchise-defining trade and waking up to fan outrage. Edens and Haslam have to be fully aligned here, because if they aren't, they risk getting pennies on the dollar for a 2-time MVP.
I don't think the Lakers are particularly close. He would have to really firebomb his reputation. It would have to be really ugly for them to take pennies on the dollar. And if for some reason it comes to me and it happens, it'll be found money just like Luka Doncic was. The Lakers offer, the way they would trade for him next summer is 3 first-round picks and space. That's the offer. And that's not good enough.
Let's talk about the Lakers, because there's a wild rumor floating around, and yeah, it has to be addressed. According to Lou Canellis out of Fox Chicago, Luka is out here recruiting, and the target is Giannis. The idea of Luka, Giannis, and LeBron on the same roster sounds absolutely unreal, like a video game lineup. But here's the reality check, and it hits fast. This probably isn't happening. Problem number 1 is the most obvious one. The money doesn't work. Giannis is making about $54.1 million this season, while Austin Reeves, the Lakers' best trade chip, makes $13.9 million. That's a nearly $40 million gap just to make the trade legal. Sure, the Lakers could bundle Reeves with Rui Hachimura, Maxi Kleber, Gabe Vincent, and Dalton Knecht to get the numbers close. But look at what that leaves behind. You're talking Luka, Giannis, LeBron, DeAndre Ayton, Marcus Smart, Jake LaRavia, and a roster full of minimum deals. That's how you end up with Bronny James playing real rotation minutes, and nobody in Los Angeles should want that pressure right now. The second problem is even trickier. Milwaukee doesn't actually want Austin Reeves long term. Ramona Shelburne recently made this clear. If she's Milwaukee, she demands Reeves, and she wouldn't do the deal without him. And that makes sense from their side. You're not getting Luka, so you ask for the next best guy, and that's Reeves. But here's the catch. Reeves is a win-now player. He's 27, heading toward free agency, and if Milwaukee is rebuilding, why would they want a guy who can walk the second he gets a better situation? That's the part people keep skipping. The Lakers can trade 1 first-round pick during the season, and that jumps to 3 in the offseason. But by then, Reeves is a free agent with zero reason to help a rebuilding team in a sign-and trade. Compare that to Houston, sitting on Suns picks in 2025, 2027, and 2029, plus Dallas's 2029 first and young pieces like Amon Thompson and Reed Shepherd. Or Brooklyn, holding 15 first-round picks ready to go. At that point, the Lakers are walking into a heavyweight fight with a plastic knife. Dan Woik from The Athletic even said unless Giannis pulls a Kawhi-style move and tells every team he won't re-sign anywhere but Los Angeles, the Lakers are a massive long shot. And right now, all signs suggest Giannis has one specific destination in mind. Before we get to the real contenders though, let's address the elephant in the room, because this part is honestly hilarious. You know who could land Giannis tomorrow if they wanted to? The Oklahoma City Thunder. OKC is sitting on 13 future first-round picks, 16 second-rounders, and 2 lottery picks that haven't even played yet, including one that could easily end up number 1 overall this year. Their depth is so wild that their end-of-bench guys would start on half the teams in the league. They could send Milwaukee 4 firsts, 5 seconds, Isaiah Hartenstein, Luguentz Dort, and Nikola Topic, and still have more assets than almost anyone else. Kevin O'Connor said a Giannis to OKC trade would break the NBA, and honestly, he's not wrong. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, and Giannis on the same team with that depth isn't basketball parity. That's dominance on another level. It would look like an all-star team running a regular season schedule, and the funniest part, OKC isn't even interested. They're 21-1, defending champs, and already flattening the league. They just handled Utah without Shai, using Dort, Hartenstein, Alex Caruso, and Isaiah Joe. The Thunder already flipped the NBA upside down, and they did it without making a single panic move. Now, the league has clearly shifted, and instead of chasing aging stars, teams are stacking draft picks and protecting their future depth like it's gold. Just look at San Antonio and Houston as the blueprint. According to CBS Sports, the only reason OKC would even consider trading for Giannis isn't because they need him. It's to keep him away from everyone else. They don't actually want him, they just don't want to deal with him in the playoffs. Even that feels a little extra though, because Giannis is still in the East, and unless Houston suddenly goes all in, a Giannis move doesn't really change OKC's world that much. So with that said, who are the real contenders? At the top of the list, it's still the New York Knicks. Jake Fisher confirmed that Madison Square Garden was the specific temptation Giannis acknowledged on Media Day. That part is real. The problem? New York has been stubborn. They've refused to put more than Karl Anthony Towns on the table, and that's nowhere near enough. But here's the twist. If Giannis quietly tells every other team he won't re-sign, suddenly that Knicks package becomes the only package. Leverage flips fast in this league. From a pure asset standpoint though, the team that can offer the most while still competing is the Houston Rockets. They've got multiple Phoenix first-round picks, Dallas's 2029 first, and young talent like Amon Thompson and Reed Shepherd. John Hollinger even said Houston can outbid almost anyone outside of OKC. The big question is location. Does Giannis really want to head west, where the road to the finals is brutal, when the East is clearly the softer path? And that brings us to the scariest option of all, the San Antonio Spurs. Picture a front court of Victor Wembanyama and Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's nightmare fuel. San Antonio has De'Aaron Fox, tradable contracts, and draft picks ready to move. Windhorse said they absolutely have enough to trade for Giannis and field a contender right away. The downside? Same problem. It's the West. If we're talking strictly about draft capital, the Brooklyn Nets can blow everyone out. They control 15 first-round picks, with 13 tradable right now. That's pure leverage. The issue is obvious though. It's just to sit ace big. Brooklyn can't offer Giannis a real chance to win, at least not immediately. Then there's the dark horse that keeps popping up, the Atlanta Hawks. Jake Fisher floated a deal where Atlanta sends Trae Young, Zachary Risashir, Dyson Daniels, Clint Capella, and 3 first-round picks. Milwaukee gets a franchise guard and young pieces, and Giannis lands on a team starving for relevance. So what happens next? Over the next few weeks, Giannis and his agent reach a crossroads with Milwaukee. Either he commits long-term, or he makes it clear he wants out. With the Instagram purge, the awkward media day moments, and a 10-13 record, the direction feels obvious. December 15th is massive. Players signed this offseason become trade eligible, Miles Turner officially becomes movable, and the trade market opens wide. Then comes the next checkpoint, Giannis's return. Watch how Milwaukee handles it. Do they rush him back to chase a playoff spot, or do they manage his workload while quietly taking calls? Then comes the point of no return, the February 5th trade deadline. If Giannis is moved this season, it happens by then. After that, it's an off-season story, and that's risky territory. Summer 2027 is the nightmare date. Giannis can opt out and walk for nothing. Milwaukee cannot let this turn into a LeBron 2010 or Kevin Durant 2016 situation. Here's how I see it playing out. Giannis signals he wants out within weeks. Milwaukee listens, and they realize the strongest offers come from Houston, San Antonio, and Brooklyn. Not New York, and definitely not the Lakers. Giannis then has to choose. Does he force his way to New York for vibes, or accept a better basketball situation elsewhere and chase rings? Either way, the Bucks era as we know it is over. The window is shut, and the rebuild is coming. The only real question is whether Milwaukee runs a real auction or lets Giannis control the process, because the nightmare is getting pennies back for a 2-time MVP. If you're a Bucks fan, there's still perspective here. Giannis gave Milwaukee everything: MVPs, a title, and his best years. He's dealing with a calf strain now, and while we hope it stays minor, this is the age when declines can start fast. Moving him now means selling at peak value to reset the franchise, not clinging to a shrinking window. I could be wrong, but this feels like a Kevin Garnett-style path. A few more elite years somewhere else, while Milwaukee finally hits reset the right way. Before the decline or a major injury even shows up, it might be time to appreciate Giannis while he's still at peak value. I hope I'm dead wrong, because I want my favorite stars hooping until 40. But realistically, this feels like the cleanest break for both Giannis and Milwaukee. Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, share this, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.